Hey guys, welcome to today's I Factor conversation. So glad to see each and every one of you. And I know that you have been blessed by a number of these conversations. So many people have reached out and talked about how much certain conversations really impacted their life. And so I'm excited about that. And I'm always thankful that we get to continue to have this conversation. And I've been having this conversation with a number of individuals from several different walks of life because we've been talking about the I Factor, my new book. And the I Factor is about leading yourself well. It's a tremendous message for everyone, regardless of how you define where you are in life. If you are an entertainer, an athlete, if you are a stay-at-home mom, a parent, if you are an attorney, or even a millennial just in college, trying to get to that place of destination in your own life, the I Factor is for you. And that's what these I Factor conversations have been about. We have been talking to a variety of different people, really discussing this issue of leading yourself well, how you have and need to have a healthy relationship with yourself, because that's what the I Factor is about. And I'm excited because on today, we're going to talk about the I Factor as it relates to athletes and entertainers. I am so blessed to have Ryan Neufeld with us today. And he's going to be a part of this conversation as we tackle what I want to call falls from glory. We want to talk about the I factor, or the factor of I, in sports and entertainment. And so, Ryan, thank you so much for consenting to be with us. It's a joy to have you.
Sure. Thank you. My pleasure, Ben.
Excellent. Well, let's get started. I believe that helping people see beneath the surface of their lives so that they can understand it and avoid personal disaster and live their dreams is really important. And I'm convinced, as a matter of fact, that winning the battle with the I Factor is the most important step in bringing about personal wholeness, security, and success. And that's what the I Factor is about. It's an inside-out approach, opposed to what the world often leads us to believe is the best approach, which is an outside-in. And so, Ryan, thank you for being with us. And I want to fire away a few questions. You have been blessed to play professional football for a number of years. And, you know, it only takes a quick Google search to find a number of athletes that have had it all, but ruined their career because of off the field or even off camera behavior. And honestly, we don't even have to do a Google search. All you got to do is stay tuned to ESPN, and we will see it often. So let me start by asking you this question. What do you think are some of the factors that drives those individuals who are in many respects at the pinnacle of success to ultimately make decisions that risk everything that they work so hard to accomplish?
Sure. After playing 7 seasons in the NFL, I can really say from experience the pressure of playing at that level is pretty tremendous. There's been years where I've been cut and didn't play, years where I went on a significant amount of time playing for one team. And even if I didn't make a team and was trying to, or I was on a team for several years, it didn't change that every year, every training camp, every day, even from one play to the next, I was being evaluated and judged by that particular play. Once the play's over, good or bad, I was going to be evaluated on the next play. And so really the pressure can get to a lot of folks if they don't have maybe some self-confidence in what they're doing or faith in their training. And the pressure can really get to an athlete at the moment. And so that could kind of, maybe if these athletes don't really know how to handle the pressure in a positive way or deal with it, that could be a factor. Another example could be ego. Really, from the time a lot of players start, whether they excel quickly at the junior level, then high school, college, maybe they might do something wrong and get away with it. Some teachers or faculty might let them slide. in high school, move on to college, maybe a faculty or coaches might let it slide. And then it kind of gives these guys really a sense of, well, I can get away with it, or I can't do anything wrong, or someone will help me really kind of hide it. And so they will that will kind of feed their ego of being above the law, so to speak. And then really those two factors, and then it comes down to your support system, who you have around you to help guide you through these times. I've heard before, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And so really it takes a strong support system and people behind you and who's giving you advice and where that advice is coming from that really can help steer an athlete dealing with the enabling, dealing with the pressure to put it, to really focus it and deal with it in a positive way? Or do you have people around you that maybe push you to deal with it in a negative way? And I think that really plays a role big time is your support system. Because really in the NFL, those factors combined with a lot of money, it's easier to get in trouble than it is to stay on the straight and narrow.
Wow.
So I think it's and also now with social media, it's it's a lot easier. I think it's harder to really walk that line and stay on the straight and narrow.
One of the things that I often say is that breakdown occurs when your external circumstances overwhelm your internal resolve. And it sounds as if all of the external pressures that come with being an NFL football player, the expectations, the enormous amount of pressure that oftentimes for those individuals that maybe don't have a strong enough I factor and even a strong enough support system. And that's interesting that you say that, because I dealt with that in my last book called The People Factor, that those are then the parameters of the perfect storm, if you will, that lead individuals who have it all from the outside looking in. It looks like they have it all, but without a strong I factor and great support system, a people factor, you end up then making decisions that jeopardize really your career and your life. And so this is very interesting, because in a high pressure situation, I think it just shines a greater importance on having a healthy factor, internally being who you need to be and being healthy so that you can withstand all of those external pressures. So staying with that theme, let's dig a little bit deeper. I want to ask you, and maybe you can speak from your own experience, or maybe some of the friendships that you've had with your teammates. As a retired NFL athlete, what would you say were some of the internal challenges that played out in the open from your life, or maybe even your teammates?
From talking about retirement?
Or just while you played in the league, what were some of the internal challenges that you had to face and had to deal with because they ended up playing out in the open, either for you or maybe some of your teammates?
Well, speaking, I guess, from my own experience, my first year I played for the Cowboys, and then the second year I played for the Jaguars. So it was kind of a time where I was really fighting to stay on a team. And then after that year with the Jaguars, I didn't play for 2 seasons. I kept trying to make a team, and I kept getting cut. And that that was really hard on my marriage and relationship with my wife, those 2 years being out and struggling. And then finally, I got an opportunity with the Bills 2 years later. And when I was with the Bills on the East Coast, my wife was in California practicing law on the West Coast. And so there was that distance between us, along with there was money issues, stuff like that. And we weren't really communicating. We were arguing a lot. And so I think that I don't know about that playing out in the open. I mean, there was people that knew about it. And so there was having to really handle that situation along with trying to make an NFL roster. And so it really, I really needed to dig deep within me and, um, find out what my personal self-worth was, in getting through that time, and really spending time focusing on making the team for my family. And at the same time, when I was with the team, I was focusing on that and had to get the job done there. But then I had to leave that at the facility.
Yep.
When I came home, and conversations with my wife and trying to repair that relationship as well. So it was just kind of those things having to deal with, and it was really a humbling experience going through that, and having to kind of step back in a sense, and really find ways to not continue to I guess perpetuate or an argument, or feed into, I guess what I'm trying to say, an argument that might arise between my wife and I over the phone in that time, but try to step back and find ways where I could serve her and be the best husband I could be at that time for her, to begin to repair that situation. And once I made the team in Buffalo during that time, and then my wife was able to come out to Buffalo, and we were able to really work on that together, and with people around us, and with our faith and everything, then things really started to turn around.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's all connected. How we don't really have the ability at times to compartmentalize part of our life. You as the football player, but you still had the obligation as the husband. And so at times, I could understand how those worlds would be challenging to coexist. But you're that common denominator as a football player and as the husband. You were the common denominator in both of those scenarios. And I think that's a reality that a lot of people experience, whereas for you, it was playing in the NFL and being the husband that your wife needed. For someone else, it may be, climbing the corporate ladder and being the kind of mom that their kids need them to be. I've had similar challenges writing and doing leadership coaching, and also the demands of ministry, but also understanding that, I'm a father, I'm a husband. And that's one of the reasons why I think this notion of who you are at your core is so important, because it's so easy to allow what we do, or even the demands that are placed on us in a variety of ways, to ultimately define us and become our identity. And one of the main things that I deal with in the I Factor is that your identity is not based on what you do. Your identity is not based on what happened to you. Your identity is not based on the circumstances you've gone through or are currently going through. Mm. But your identity is based on something much more deeper and much more substantial than that. Mm. And we've got to do the work to really get to the core of that, because that's who we are in every scenario. That's our real self, and that's our best self.
Yeah, and I really went through a growth spurt faithfully during that time also. And it was really putting faith in God and His plan during that time of my life, and having faith that He will see me through that plan. And it was, the growth spurt faithfully was really, it was awesome, and it was really a turning point in my life going through that situation.
Man, I believe it. Let's talk a little bit more about this notion of the expectations, particularly as an NFL player. I've never played professional football, and football was not really my sport. I was a basketball guy, but I love football. And what's interesting is you see all of these dynamics about the locker room kind of environment, and not only the pressure that is placed on football players from, the team in terms of the coaches and in terms of the organization, but also in terms of the camaraderie and the community that happens within the locker room. So let me ask you this. How often did you have to weigh your individual identity or who you were against the commitments of your team? So we see a number of instances where the team wants to maybe go hang out or go do a certain thing because it helps to build those team dynamics. But then what happens when internally who you are at your core, particularly being a person of faith, when that conflicts with some of the team behavior? Did you ever have that experience? And if so, how did you navigate through that? How did you stay true to who you are as a believer and as an individual, the core of your identity, while at the same time, weighing out the commitments that you should make to your team as a community?
Well, really, I think it comes down to, Van, is what type of what you're saying, the type of activity that was going on, and I guess the number of players that are going to be involved. If it's a small group of players that are doing something really that I don't really participate in, then it's something that I can probably skip doing. If maybe maybe there's a group of players that are going to go out and dinner and hang out and then do something after that, I'll go have dinner. Yeah, I'll hang out, have dinner, do that, and then after that, I'll go kind of step back and go back home, stuff like that. But really, every day while I was playing the NFL, it crossed my mind weighing what I do against like commitments to my team.
Mm-hmm.
And like every day, I'd have to think of myself as an ambassador. I'm an ambassador to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I'm an ambassador to my family. My name, then my team, and the city that I'm playing in. And so I got to think of my actions and the consequences of those actions. How will that affect my role or my circle,
Mm-hmm.
or what I represent? How will it affect who I represent? So, anything from when I was feeling sick and wanted to take a Sudafed, I couldn't do that. I would fail a performance enhancing drug test. And so it's like just every little thing I have to weigh and think about, how will this affect my commitment to the team and the team's success. And so even that, with certain activities that guys might get into, if I'm involved in that and something happens, even though I might not be directly involved in what happens, but if I'm in the area, my name's on it, and it could affect the team negatively. So, and it was really, really every day, even in the off season, because you're still a part of the NFL, you're still a part of that team, and so it's constant every day.
Wow. One of the things that I appreciate about you, Ryan, is that you have a great grasp on greater purpose, purpose greater than yourself, purpose greater than the NFL. And that really taps into one of the key factors that I talk about in the book that's necessary in order to have a healthy I factor. It's identity, which we've talked about. It's perspective, how you look at things, which we touched on. But I want to talk for a minute about significance. Because I think you understand that in a very unique way. You've got a great grasp on purpose and significance, particularly greater than yourself or the NFL. You're very active on social media, and really, you are passionate about charity events, particularly surrounding particular causes. Take a second and tell us a little bit about your advocacy and why it's so important to you, because I think that it speaks to this notion of significance and purpose that's bigger than us, bigger than what we may do or have done. So I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Sure. When I retired from the NFL, it was my identity, because I really struggled throughout, I guess, the NFL, is, keeping God first, and then making sure that football was underneath.
Mm-hmm.
There were times where I'm not going to lie, there were times I put football first, and I was I feel like that throughout my career, God really helped me to maintain the priorities correctly. But retiring really was a humbling experience, and it really, I had to kind of create a new identity. I had to make sure that I put God first in that identity, but then have a kind of, you know, find something that would fulfill me professionally as well. But throughout, my son was born, and we found out that he had autism
Mm.
3 years later. And so now, my purpose, I really advocate for the autism community, and within that, special needs families and children. And so here in Frisco, we have what's called a Miracle League, which provides sports for special needs kids. And I started a football league within the Miracle League umbrella. And so it's I really wanted to give children with special needs the opportunity to play sports that they see their peers at school enjoying and being able to play, or sports that they watch on TV. They're just like any of us. They want to, be out there playing, doing everything that, your neurotypical developing kids do. So I wanted to really give them that opportunity, and give them a chance to know what it's like to be a part of a team, know what it feels like to score a touchdown and things like that. And then that really gives them a sense of confidence within themselves. And so it's that I'm really passionate about is autism and the special needs community.
Awesome. Awesome. Man, what a tremendous life you've lived. What a tremendous life you're living now. So let me ask you, I guess, one final thought. Football is a great sport. It's a great source of inspiration for people across America and even really around the world. And you've done that. You are bringing hope to a number of kids now through your new league there and the advocacy that we just talked about. So let me ask you a final question, because we talked a lot today about the balance of career and family and the challenges that come with that. I believe that there are probably a lot of people that are watching with us today, and that may be their struggle. That may be their challenge. How do they balance career and family? And looking at you and hearing your story, you've done that. You're still doing that. You got your son who needs you more and more. You got your wife that needs you. You've got the magnifying glass that just comes with being a professional athlete, and you've handled that and are continuing to navigate that well. So let me ask you a final question, and maybe you can speak to others that may be in the same place. What is it inside of you, Ryan, that keeps you going, that keeps you motivated, or that's kept you motivated through the ups and downs of the NFL career, through the ups and downs of the challenges that come with marriage and fathering? What is the internal thing that keeps your motor going? And maybe you can share that with someone else so that they can keep going through their difficulties or even through the adversities that they're facing right now.
Well, then, after playing 7 years in the NFL, I experienced a number of ups and downs and challenges. I probably was cut from teams 5-6 times. I traveled the world trying to get to better my skills to play. I played in NFL Europe, overseas, and traveling the country trying to make a team, and then finally sticking and playing 5 straight seasons in Buffalo at the end of my career. And it really comes down to just an internal fire to want to better yourself and be the best that you can be in all aspects of your life. That internal fire to be the best that you can be as a husband, And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm the perfect husband. But, I have my faults, just like anybody else. But each day is a new day, and new day to get better, to reflect on. When I go to bed at night, reflect on the day you've had, if it was a positive one, or if you can improve. And then each day is a new day, a day to wake up refreshed, refresh my mind, and charge the day with just with enthusiasm, and then just the awesome responsibility that I feel as a father. Raising two children, with my son in special needs, and helping him to reach his full potential. Hopefully he'll make it. He'll be able to live independently and contribute to society, and helping him to do that. And then to my daughter, being the best father I could be to her, and showing her what love looks like from a father, and from a male figure. And that's just such a great responsibility. And then all that with just the love of my family, and through retirement, I really had to kind of work harder, because NFL players, after retirement, there's a statistic that 80% of players are bankrupt or divorced 3 years after retirement. And add that to having a special needs child, their statistics are high, divorce rate with a special needs child. So we kind of got all that working against my wife and I. So we really have to work harder to cultivate a positive and loving relationship between us, and for our children. And so it's really all that motivates me every day to be the best that I could be. And I wake up, and where maybe I didn't sleep well, I don't feel good, and I just wake up at the wrong side of the bed, and I'll have a bad day. But I got to remind myself that every day is a new day, and to wake up positive, and refresh my mind, and really take the day on with enthusiasm and a positive attitude.
Excellent. Well, guys, I couldn't say it any better than that. To keep that internal fire burning, and to make sure that fire is healthy, is what the I Factor is all about. And so grateful. Thank you, Ryan, for being a part of this conversation, and sharing your time and your story, and just what you're passionate about, and how your I Factor has literally been a factor in all of the different turns, and the successes, and the challenges of your life. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and sharing your family with us. And to all of you that are watching, if you haven't already picked up the I Factor, make sure that you get it. It'll make probably one of the greatest gifts you will ever give a person, particularly somebody that you care about. One of the greatest tasks is to get healthy from the inside out, because everything that you touch, everything that you're connected to, will benefit from you and everybody that having a healthy I Factor. And so thanks for joining us for today's I Factor conversation. And we look to see you next time. And don't forget, connect with us through social media, Twitter, Facebook. All of the information about the I Factor, the book, the small group discipleship material, it's all out at ifactorbook.com. So I look forward to you guys connecting with it, and hit me up and let me know how the message is impacting your life. Thank you guys for watching today's I Factor conversation. Take care.